So your friend asks you for a favor and gives you $5 asking to buy something to eat, something to drink, something to feed his cow with, and something to plant in his garden. At the same time, you're allowed to buy just one thing. What are you going to buy? You can go and buy a watermelon. You can eat it, you can drink it, you can feed the cow with the rinds, and as for the watermelon seeds, you can easily plant them in the garden. An egg has to fall 100 feet, but you can't let it break. You can't slow down its fall or cushion its landing. How can you do it? Drop the egg from a height greater than 100 feet, and it won't break for the first 100 feet. Cracks me up. Let's imagine you don't know what an elephant looks like. One day, you're going on a safari to watch animals with your friends. One of them points at a rhino and tells you it's an elephant. The other shows you a hippo and claims that it's an elephant. Who will you believe and why? The task was to imagine that you didn't know what an elephant looked like, not that you didn't know what a hippo and a rhino are. It means you won't believe either of your friends. It's fitness day at school, and all the children ran the same distance. Each kid was ranked according to his or her own unique result. Billy turned out to be both the 50th fastest and the 50th slowest runner. How many kids are there at Billy's school? Even though 100 sounds like a clear-cut answer, it's actually 99. Billy is the 50th in the sequence from 1 to 50 of the fastest runners. If he's the 50th slowest, there has to be 99 runners ranked from 50 to 99. Mrs. Smith went to the police claiming that her vintage necklace was missing. The woman was upset. When the police arrived, they saw no signs of a break-in. No messed up locks, no misplaced doors. Only one window was broken. There was a total mess inside the house and dirty footprints all over the floor. Surprisingly, the next day, Mrs. Smith was arrested for fraud. Why? The police were sure that Mrs. Smith lied to them because the window was broken from the inside. If it had been broken from the outside, little pieces of glass would have been on the room's floor. You've been captured and kept in jail for several months. One day, you manage to open your cell and get out into the hall. There are 3 exits. A huge, vicious-looking man guards one of them. The second has angry dogs. And in front of the third exit, there's a timer ticking down to an explosion in 5 minutes. Which exit will you choose? Wait until the explosion is over and get out through the third exit. Bill and Joe have had an argument about human body capabilities and made a deal. Bill would go to Antarctica and Joe would travel to the Sahara Desert, where they'll both try to survive for 3 days without any shelter and clothes, but with plenty of food and water. Who has the better chances of survival? It's Joe. In Antarctica, the temperatures are freezing all the time, and without any cover, Bill would become an icicle in less than a day. In the Sahara, on the other hand, the extreme heat might cause blisters and even heat stroke, but only in the day. It's rather cool there at night, and water will help Joe fight any dehydration. James escaped from prison and ran for the countryside. Suddenly, on a small, deserted road, he saw a police car heading right at him. James ran toward the car for some time, then turned and rushed into the woods. Why did he run toward the car first? James was in the middle of a bridge when he saw the car. He had to run toward the vehicle to get off the bridge. Newlyweds left for their honeymoon and asked their neighbor to look after their house. When they returned, the woman found out that she'd lost all her expensive jewelry because of a power outage. The woman had hidden her jewelry in a supposedly safe place. The house wasn't robbed. The neighbor was an honest person. The jewelry got lost on accident. What happened? The wife hid her jewelry in the freezer in a bag with frozen food. After the power failure, all the food spoiled. The kind-hearted neighbor decided to help and threw away all the bad food, together with the jewelry. On a sunny, windless day, a ship was in the harbor. There were many people on the shore looking at the vessel. Suddenly, the ship started to sink fast. There was nothing wrong with it, there was no storm, and the skies were blue. And yet, the ship went down in front of the spectators. What happened? Nothing unexpected. The submarine's captain just ordered the crew to dive. You're playing ping pong when your last ball falls into a 1-foot-deep narrow metal pipe embedded in the concrete floor. How can you get the ball out of the pipe if all you have is your paddle, a bottle of water, and your shoelaces? Pour the water from your bottle into the hole, and the ball will rise to the surface. Oh, and use your shoelaces to keep your shoes on. It took 7 years to build the world's tallest skyscraper. Every year, the builders managed to double its height. How many years did it take the skyscraper to reach half its maximum height? Six years. If the constructors doubled the building's height every year, the skyscraper had to be half its final height a year before it was completed. There's a low railroad bridge in your town with a car tunnel under it. One day, you see a large truck sitting right in front of the tunnel and a confused driver walking around. You come up to him and ask what happened. It turned out that the truck is just a couple of inches taller than the allowed height. So if he drives inside, the truck will get stuck. Unfortunately, that's the only way to the driver's destination. How can he get through the tunnel? He has to let the air out of the tires. It'll make the truck lower. Lucy could only use a public telephone to make calls. One day, the phone broke. She informed the phone company, but they did nothing. The next day, she came there again and said something. The day after that, the phone was fixed. What did Lucy say? She said that people were making calls without paying. A family lived in a round hut. There were 5 people, a mother, a father, and their 3 sons. When the father came home one day, he discovered that his computer was broken. The mother was away. Mark, the oldest kid, said he was doing his homework. Jack, the middle kid, swore he was drawing. And Tom, the youngest, told father that mom had punished him and so he was standing in a corner. Who broke the computer? It was Tom, of course. A round house doesn't have any corners. There is a 1-mile-long bridge, which can only hold 5,000 pounds at one time. That's exactly the weight of the truck that's crossing it. The truck reaches the middle of the bridge and stops. Suddenly, a bird lands on the truck. Is the bridge going to collapse? The bridge isn't going to break down because the truck has already used some gas to get to the middle, and therefore weighs less than 5,000 pounds. You agreed to take part in a reality show, but it turned out to be a trap from a crazed lunatic. He tells you to dive into one of 4 tanks. The first one is swarming with venomous snakes. The second is filled with corrosive acid. Electric eels are swimming in the third one. And the fourth tank is filled with bacteria-infested water. In which tank will you have more chances of survival? Choose the tank with the bacteria. First of all, not all bacteria are harmful, and secondly, not all of them are contagious. Good luck with that. Mark got himself a new book to read. The plot was so exciting that he couldn't stop and kept reading the story until late at night. He didn't turn on the lights when it was pitch dark and there was no one to do it for him. But he still managed to read the book till the end that night. How is that possible? Mark was blind and was reading a book written in Braille. Or he could have just had an e-book. Hey, why not? 2 best friends, Jack and Tyler, went to a tropical island to surf and have some rest. After an active day at sea, they bought a large watermelon and ate it. In an hour or so, Tyler felt unwell and lost consciousness. Luckily, he was taken to a hospital in time. The doctors there managed to save his life. But Jack couldn't wrap his mind around what had happened. Both guys ate the same watermelon. Tyler didn't have any kind of an allergy. Then how come Jack was perfectly fine? Jack didn't eat watermelon seeds, and Tyler did. Whatever substance poisoned him was in the seeds. Jerry got a job as a security guard at a supermarket. On his first day, he heard an alarm go off when a young woman was leaving the store. He stopped her and asked whether she had a receipt. She did, so Jerry checked it and the girl's bag. Everything looked okay, but the man still called the police. Why? The date on the receipt was wrong. The girl had bought all the products the day before and then came back the next day to steal the same stuff. A wealthy businessman was poisoned at a restaurant. When the police arrived, they questioned all other visitors who were there at that time. Albert said he had been talking on the phone with his brother. Judy told the police she had been waiting in a bathroom line. Diana said she had been writing a report for her boss. And Philip said he had been putting on his clothes, ready to leave. Who's the culprit? It's Judy. Besides her, there were only 3 other visitors in the restaurant, and all of them were busy. There couldn't be any bathroom line. Catherine was a maid at the Smith's house. One day, she called the police and asked them to come as soon as possible. When they arrived, the woman told the officers the house owners were away on vacation. She was the only one to look after the house. In the morning, she went grocery shopping. On her way back, a man in a mask ran up to her and made her open the door and let him in. He tied Catherine to a chair, took all the valuables he could find, and sneaked out of the house. The woman started to shout for help. After some time, a passerby heard her shouting, entered the house, and untied her. Then he went away without leaving his name or phone number. After the detective heard this story, he arrested Catherine. Why? The Smith's house is away from the town, in a forest. There aren't likely to be any passers-by in that area. Plus, the fence is high and thick. Even if Catherine had been shouting, no one would have heard her. Janice rented an apartment with 3 other girls. Once, her mom came to visit her. She gave her daughter some money. Janice put the bills under a book lying on her desk and went to see her mom off. When she returned, there was no money in the room. The girl questioned her neighbors. Natalie answered she had just returned from her morning run. Brittany told Janice she'd wanted to read the book. After taking it, she put the money in the middle drawer. Kayla said she had entered the room just once to look for her scarf. Who took the money? It was Brittany. The desk has no middle drawer. A unique diamond was exhibited in a popular museum. No wonder it was guarded day and night. Only small groups of people were allowed to enter the room with the diamond. One of such groups had just left when the security guards heard a shrill alarm go off. They dashed inside and found a man who seemed to be as shocked as they were. The diamond was in its place. The guards searched the man and found nothing unusual: a phone, a wallet, a lighter, a bottle with water, and a camera. They let the man go. But soon it was announced the diamond had been stolen. What happened? The man replaced the real thing with a fake gem. After that, he hid the famous diamond in his bottle with water. 2 girls, Tina and Betty, got lost in the forest. After some time, each of them found a clearing with lots of berries growing there. By that moment, the girls had been starving. They decided to snack on the berries. But for one of them, it's going to be a grave mistake. Which girl is that? Betty is eating the berries from endangered plants. She's not supposed to do it, but they won't make her sick. Tina is munching on the berries that have knocked off a bird. It means they might be poisonous for the girl too. Uh-oh. Maria was walking down the street when someone slammed into her. It was a man who immediately started to apologize. The girl looked at him attentively and said, "It's okay, Mark." How come she knew the man's name if he wasn't a celebrity and she had never seen him before? Maria knew the man's name because he was her friend's twin brother. Eric needs to get some documents from his colleague's safe. If he doesn't, he'll get fired the next day. But it turns out to be a tricky task. The safe has a password, and Eric has no idea how to crack it. It's a combination of letters OTTFFSS, with the last 3 letters missing. What are they? The missing letters are E and T. All of them are the first letters of the numbers from 1 to 10. One evening, Christian went to the backyard to enjoy some peanut cookies. He didn't want to leave any crumbs inside the house because his wife was allergic to nuts. But when the man opened the bag, he found just 1 cookie. Christian questioned his 3 kids. Alice, the eldest, puffed, "Don't you remember I'm on a diet?" Kelly, the middle child, said, "I was studying upstairs. I didn't have time for cookies." And Joe, the youngest, answered he had been too busy helping his mom to make a peanut butter cake. So, who gobbled down Christian's sweets? It was Joe. Christian's wife is allergic to nuts. It would be too risky to make a cake with peanut butter. A rich man's house was burgled. Strangely, the thieves didn't take anything except for 1 painting. When the police arrived, the confused house owner told them he had bought the canvas at auction. It didn't cost much. He had no idea why the criminals had chosen to steal it. Pretty soon, the police detectives figure out what was so special about the painting. Can you? It wasn't about the painting itself, but about its expensive and unique frame. Mr. Johnson disliked modern art. One day, he ran into the City Art Museum and caused damage to several paintings, which cost millions of dollars. Instead of being arrested, though, he was invited to the manager of the gallery. The man started to thank Mr. Johnson and promised he would be rewarded. How come? Mr. Johnson was a firefighter. The water he used to put out the flames damaged several masterpieces, but he still managed to extinguish the fire, saving many more precious exhibits.